Hey everybody, it's Sean with Tab Off-Road. Today I'm going to be installing the Tab Off-Road bumper on this Polaris 900S. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel down below and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Alright, for the Tab Off-Road rear bumper, it's going to come with all your supplied hardware and brackets. The brackets are interchangeable, so you can use either one on either side. It's going to come with all the hardware you need. For the hardware to get that installed, you'll need a 3/4 inch, 11/16 and a 1/2 inch either socket or wrench. It'll help speed the process up if you do have a drill as well, but that's all you'll need, and let's get to it. Here is the Tab Off-Road rear bumper. Basically, to install this, we have 4 points of contact. We have 2 bolts that hold it down at the bottom on the frame, and then we have 2 more points up top that actually bolt into a bracket, and that's a supplied bracket that bolts onto the frame, and we bolt that to the bracket. Pretty straightforward. Okay, so here's what we have going. I'm going to start on the driver's side, then we'll move on to the passenger side, but basically we're just going to take our supplied bracket, and again that can be used on either side, but we're going to take our bracket, line up the top 2 holes into the holes that are in our frame there, and it's just going to go right in there. And then what we'll do is we'll take our supplied bolts of the 2 smaller ones, so you'll get 4 total, 2 for this side, 2 for the other side. And these holes are not threaded, but all you have to do is just get them started, and then either put them in there with your ratchet or wrench, or just zip them in there with your drill, and they'll thread themselves in there and they'll stay in there. And I do just want to get this loosely installed, so that way it makes it easier to line up when I get the bumper on there. Now on to the passenger side. This side's going to be a little bit more of a challenge just because we got our exhaust in the way, but it's the exact same process. We're just going to be lining up our top 2 holes in our bracket with the holes that are already in the frame there. I will point out that it'll be a little bit easier for me this time around to get these bolts started because this bumper has been taken on and off, so the threads have already been created. The first time around that's not the case, so all I have to do is get the bolts lined up, and it doesn't have to be perfectly square. You want to get it as square as you can, but there's no threads in there, so you don't have to worry about getting anything cross-threaded, but you do want to get that lined up as best you can, get it started, and then you can come back and then get it further in with either your drill or your ratchet. And then you do want to keep this one loose as well, so that way it'll make lining the bumper up a little bit easier. What we're going to do is we're going to line these 2 pieces up of the bumper with the 2 holes that are in the plastic piece on the back here. We're just going to slide those in there and try to line it up as best as we can with the brackets that we just put on there. Once you get it in place, you can do one of 2 things. You can work on the top 2 bolts, get those 2 bolts loosely started, or you can do the bottom 2. I like to do the bottom 2 just because the top 2 are a little bit harder to reach, especially on this passenger side, and it's just nice having something holding it in place so you don't have to do that while you're trying to get the bolts lined up. Alright, the 2 down here, the medium-sized ones that you get with all the hardware, 11/16 socket to get those in. Again, we're just going to get them loosely started. Alright, with those 2 in place, next we can move up to the top 2. Okay, I'll start with the driver's side because it is much easier to get you warmed up for the passenger side. All we're going to do is we're going to take our shorter squat-ear bolt, 3/4 inch socket or wrench, and then we're just going to get that started. Then we'll move on to the passenger side. Passenger side, exact same process, just a little bit harder to reach because we got our exhaust in the way. Again, that one is pretty hard to reach, so just have patience. You can get it. It does help if you have some ratcheting wrenches. It helps a lot, makes it go a lot quicker. But just get that loosely snug. You don't want to tighten it down just yet. We want to make sure everything's lined up. Now that I have everything in place and where I want it, first I'm going to tighten the bracket to the frame. And again, your choice of tools here. I have access to a drill, so I'm going to use it. 1/2 inch. Same thing on the other side. Alright, this job is done. That's all there is to it, just a couple bolts. One thing I do want to touch on again is that the holes that are in the frame that the bracket lines up with and those bolts go into, those are not threaded. They thread when you put the bolts in there, so those might be kind of hard just to get started, but if you can get them started and then you can zip them down with a wrench or a drill like I did, and then when everything's in place, then you can go ahead and tighten everything down.